Imagine walking into a cozy American kitchen 100 years ago. The smell of fresh bread baking in the wood stove, the sound of bubbling stew on the fire, and handwritten cookbooks filled with recipes passed down from mothers to daughters. These recipes weren't fancy, they were born out of necessity, creativity, and love. But as time went on, many of them disappeared from our tables. Today, we're taking a nostalgic journey back into those kitchens, rediscovering 25 forgotten recipes that once defined American family life. Some may surprise you, some might make you smile, and some, well, you may wonder how people ever ate them. But every single dish tells a story. 1. Vinegar pie. In the 1800s, not everyone could afford lemons. So, resourceful homemakers used vinegar to mimic that tart flavor. With sugar and a pinch of cinnamon, they baked what came to be known as vinegar pie. It was sweet, tangy, and surprisingly comforting. Imagine a mother in the Great Depression pulling this out of her oven, proving that you didn't need luxury ingredients to create joy. 2. Tomato aspic. Now this one might make you raise your eyebrows. Tomato aspic. A savory jello made from tomato juice and gelatin, garnished with vegetables. In the 1950s and 60s, it was the centerpiece of dinner parties. Housewives would bring out these shimmering molds of red gelatin, and guests would applaud. Today, it sounds unusual, but back then, it was the height of sophistication. 3. Corn dodgers. These small fried or baked cornmeal cakes were the fuel of pioneers heading westward. Soldiers in the Civil War also carried them because they lasted long without spoiling. Crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside, they weren't glamorous, but they were survival food. If you close your eyes, you can almost picture cowboys warming them over a campfire. 4. Dandelion green salad. Today we spend money on kale and spinach, but back in the day, people went into their backyards to gather dandelion greens. Tossed with vinegar and bacon drippings, this humble salad was packed with vitamins. In rural communities, especially during spring, families looked forward to this simple but nourishing dish. It was a reminder that nature's pantry was always open. 5. Water pie. This is one of the most fascinating recipes from the Great Depression. When pantries were empty, families turned water, sugar, flour, and butter into a pie that set into a custard-like filling. It wasn't fancy, but it gave people the taste of dessert in a time when money was tight. Many elderly folk still recall eating water pie as children, their mothers proudly serving it as if it were the grandest treat in the world. 6. Chicken à la king. By the early 1900s, restaurants started serving this creamy chicken dish with peppers and mushrooms, often ladled over toast. It became a symbol of luxury in middle-class homes. Housewives loved it because it was a way to dress up leftover chicken and make it feel elegant. In many ways, chicken à la king was America's version of comfort food with class. 7. Prune whip. Back when prunes were considered a health food, old cookbooks featured a dessert called prune whip. Egg whites were beaten until fluffy, then folded with prune puree to create a light and airy sweet. It was advertised as both delicious and good for digestion, proving that even desserts sometimes had to serve double duty. 8. Shoofly pie. From Pennsylvania Dutch kitchens came shoofly pie, a gooey molasses pie topped with crumbs. Its name came from the sticky sweetness that attracted flies. But it was more than just dessert, it was a slice of culture, representing German immigrants who brought their baking traditions to America. Served with strong coffee, it became a breakfast pie for hardworking farmers. 9. Mock turtle soup. In the 1800s, turtle soup was a delicacy, but real turtles were expensive. So cooks got creative. They made mock turtle soup using beef and calves' organs, seasoned with spices to taste like turtle. It was proof that even when times were tough, people found ways to mimic luxury foods. 10. Cabbage pudding. Yes, pudding wasn't always sweet. Old cookbooks often listed cabbage pudding, layers of cooked cabbage mixed with eggs, cream, and breadcrumbs. Baked until firm, it was hearty and affordable. A dish that would have stretched small ingredients to feed a large family. 11. Oyster loaf. In the 19th century, oysters were cheap and plentiful. Street vendors in New Orleans made oyster loaves by hollowing out bread, filling it with fried oysters, and baking it until golden. It was the original seafood sandwich, messy, filling, and beloved by travelers. 12. Suet pudding. Suet, the fat around beef kidneys, was once a prized ingredient. Mixed with dried fruit, flour, and spices, it made a dense pudding steamed for hours. In winter, suet pudding was a rich, warming dessert. Today, most of us wouldn't dream of eating beef fat in sweets, but back then, nothing went to waste. 13. Calf's foot jelly. Before gelatin packets, cooks had to make jelly from scratch by boiling calves' feet until the natural collagen turned to jelly. Sometimes it was flavored sweet, other times savory. People believed it had healing powers, especially for the sick. It was less about flavor and more about nourishment. 14. Ambrosia salad. In the American South, no church potluck or holiday was complete without ambrosia salad. A mix of oranges, coconut, and later marshmallows, it was both refreshing and sweet. The name ambrosia came from the food of the gods, and for children at Sunday dinners, it really did feel like a treat from heaven. 15. Potato donuts. During World War I, when flour was scarce, cooks turned to mashed potatoes as a filler in donuts. The result was surprisingly fluffy and moist. Soldiers loved them, and when they returned home, the recipe became a family tradition. Some bakeries still secretly use potato in their donuts today. 16. Brunswick stew. A stew with disputed origins, Virginia and Georgia both claim it. Traditionally made with squirrel or rabbit, it later shifted to chicken and pork. Slow-cooked with tomatoes, beans, and corn, it was a communal dish, often made in giant pots for festivals and gatherings. 17. Milk toast. Simple, humble, and soothing. Toasted bread soaked in warm milk with butter and a sprinkle of sugar. It was fed to children, the elderly, and the sick. For many, it was the taste of comfort and care. 18. Johnny cakes. These cornmeal flatbreads date back to colonial America. Quick to cook on a hot griddle, they were filling and cheap. Native Americans first taught settlers how to make them, making Johnny cakes one of the first true American fusion foods. 19. Baked Alaska. A dessert that was as much theater as food. Cake topped with ice cream, covered in meringue, then baked quickly in a hot oven. Guests gasped as a frozen center survived the flames. It became a favorite showpiece in the 19th and early 20th centuries. 20. Creamed chipped beef on toast. Known to soldiers as SOS, this dish was part of military rations. Sliced dried beef cooked in creamy gravy, poured over toast. After World War II, soldiers brought it home, and it became a common breakfast food in American households. 21. Tomato gravy. In the South, biscuits weren't always topped with sausage gravy. Sometimes, they were drenched in tangy tomato gravy. It was cheap, filling, and stretched a garden harvest a little further. 22. Jellied chicken. A cold luncheon dish where chicken was suspended in savory gelatin. Served in fancy molds, it was considered elegant. Though it might not appeal to modern tastes, it once symbolized refinement. 23. Persimmon pudding. A Midwestern treat made from wild persimmons, molasses, and spices. Steamed or baked, it was dark, rich, and deeply flavorful. Families often served it with whipped cream at Christmastime, making it a seasonal favorite. 24. Peanut butter bread. During the Depression, peanut butter was a cheap source of protein. Adding it to bread dough made a dense but satisfying loaf. Families sliced it thick, spreading even more peanut butter on top for an affordable meal. Recently, this recipe has made a comeback on social media. 25. Hasty pudding. A dish straight from colonial America. Cornmeal simmered with water or milk, sweetened with molasses. It was quick, hearty, and adaptable. Over time, it inspired new dishes, but in its day, it was the ultimate comfort food. And there we have it, 25 Forgotten Recipes from the Pages of Old American Cookbooks. Each one tells a story, of families making do with what they had, of creativity in hard times, and of flavors that connected generations. Some of these recipes might feel strange today, but to the people who cooked them, they were memories, traditions, and survival. So, which of these dishes would you bring back to your own kitchen? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this trip through great American nostalgia, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us again as we rediscover the flavors of the past.